I'm Johnny Saunders, grad student at the University of Oregon, and I'm taking the Neural Systems and Behavior course. And so one moment that stuck out in my mind is while we were working with crabs to metagastric ganglion, how just a bundle of cells with a bunch of these nerves splayed out all over this dish. And so we'd been spending this last couple weeks trying to get it to switch from one rhythm to the other rhythm. And every time we tried to do that, it just sort of would just like, no, I'm going to stick with my rhythm. You can't influence me. And so it was just this one night in particular where just like after finally getting all the tiny electrodes stuck into place with clay and finally managed to get a few other electrodes stuck into the exact cell of interest, we finally sort of just like saw the network start to just like breathe and heave, and it was sort of just, you could see it sort of like an approaching storm, just like the network sort of just like shift into place or something like that. And then finally just like you hear the rhythm kick in like a motorcycle and just like, and like finally we're just like, the white whale is here, we've got it. And so just, but just at that moment, the course directors had arranged a swapping of the sides. So there were two simultaneous modules going at the time. We were working on this little ganglion and the other team was working with the fish. And so we were swapping just to see what they were up to, just trade turns for a little bit. And so my partner, Lauren Hewitt, went to the other side just to see what was happening over there. So I was left trying to keep this sinking ship afloat, basically, trying to keep it alive. And so as people were coming around, I would occasionally have to, go from the computer, go check the table, go just like go back to the stimulator and just like drop it back and like hear the motorcycle engine rev again, try and get it back into this rhythm. And so just this like really beautiful feeling of sort of just like having to maintain 12.5 different things at once, none of which I'd really done before this past week, as people were coming by and asking me questions about how it worked. And so just like a couple of things that were sticking with me about that is that sometimes when I'm working in the lab, I feel that the solutions that I come with are less than elegant. And just to see that just like this was in like how, some of the best people I'd ever met at like doing experiments were also doing it, sticking things in there with clay and just sort of praying that they worked. And they actually were quite effective. Made me feel just like, okay, all the little shortcuts I do actually can work in a real way and like it actually qualifies as being real science. But then also just seeing the fact that you can sort of approach this alien ball of cells that you've never seen before and never approached before and just like actually be able to learn something very useful and interesting about it in just an immediate short of time just by getting up close and personal with it all day, every day in the lab. It just felt like a really sort of stunning moment of expertise that I didn't really think I'd be able to access in that little week.